The first piece of the educator innovation puzzle was increasing AVA's access to high-quality educators. But how? Well, we noticed that many of our novice teachers often had the same classrooms, if not more difficult ones, than their more experienced peers. But even though they were right next door, the system was designed to keep teachers in their separate classrooms, unable to ask for or give meaningful help. Why? After all, you'd never give a new paralegal the lead on the most complex case your firm has. And you'd never ask a resident surgeon to perform a difficult operation alone on their first day. So why would we expect teachers to do the equivalent? The education system needed a strategic staffing solution. That's why, in 2016, the Advanced Teaching Roles Initiative was launched, which not only removed the barriers between classrooms by creating teams of teachers, it also gave Ava access to an effective educator, her teacher got the support she needed, and her mentor gained access to embedded professional advancement opportunities and higher pay, up to $20,000 more a year. On top of that, effective ATR schools have higher growth scores and lower turnover than non-ATR schools, meaning Ava benefited from teams of teachers who had more experience and support. And with nearly 20% of all schools in North Carolina implementing ATR, there are thousands of teachers in advanced roles that keep them in the classroom where they want to be. That also means distributed leadership across the entire school building, which not only empowers teachers, it also allows principals to focus on their role as an executive with a strategic vision. The goal? For ATR to be professional practice in all schools by 2035. And now, to share more about ATR, please welcome Dr. Tom Tomberlin from the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction.
Good morning. I'm very excited to be here today to talk about advanced teaching roles. I do apologize for the little Barry White action I've got going on here, but maybe I'll sing at the end of this. So, as I've worked with teacher compensation over the last 12 to 15 years in the state of North Carolina, I keep coming back to this question that everyone asks about a differentiated compensation model. And the question is, why don't you just pay teachers more? Why does it have to be complicated? And that's a great question. And I'm here today to talk about why it's not as simple as what that question raises. And so to start out talking about ATR, I want to talk about kind of three main pillars of the work. And that is compensation, that's professional in nature and attracts better professionals to the job. Second, career advancement and development and actual career ladder opportunities within the profession itself. And third, better student outcomes. So any good compensation system should support those three main pillars of the profession. So we're going to start out really quick with a geography lesson. There's two cities pictured up here. Really quick, can anybody identify the city on the top? Denver, very good. And the city on the bottom, a little, probably less visited than Denver. Des Moines, Iowa. Now, why Denver and Des Moines? What does that have to do with teacher compensation? In 1921, these two city school systems implemented a major innovation in teacher compensation. We know it today as the step and lane salary schedule. So 100 years ago, these two cities said, our compensation system should focus on the retention of educators, pay them more as they stay, and equalizing pay. At that time, women were paid less than men. African American teachers were paid less than white teachers. And so Denver and Des Moines said, we want to address these two issues. A step and lane ensures uniformity in the salary schedule and gives teachers a clear signal on when they will increase that salary. So that has served us across the nation. Virtually every public school system in the country operates on a step and lane salary system. And these are two important characteristics that are addressed by that. But there is more to a compensation system than those two things. An ideal compensation system should focus on retention and equalizing pay, but it also should support increasing teachers' knowledge and skills. As you develop and become better, your compensation should reflect that improved performance. Attracting teachers to hard-to-staff schools in subject areas. I'll pick on myself here. I was a Latin teacher. The market did not demand a whole lot from me. Education was probably the place I needed to be. But as we think about students that are graduating from college, excelling in math and science and technology, how do we attract those folks to the education world if we're not responding to the market forces that are pushing on those areas? And then creating professional growth opportunities for teachers. The step and lane has worked well, but it's a long slog over 30 years. And as you get better and better, the compensation system should reflect that improvement in your professional life rather than just a time step throughout your career. And then finally, improving student performance. If the compensation system does not support our professionals in serving our clients, and students are our clients in this enterprise, then it is not supporting the work of the industry. So how do we do this? Well, it requires a lot of research, and that's what this is. And we have to study this because we have some ideas about what is contributing to better student outcomes in relation to highly effective instruction, but we need to see this on the ground in action so we can replicate this. And so teachers can learn from those teachers who are doing it day in and day out. And if we can build this, so right now we're focused, ATR focuses on the top. It's pretty easy for principals to say, these are my best teachers. Where it gets difficult is those gradations down. Who's my next best teacher and my middling teacher, and who needs the better support? That's where the enterprise gets a lot more difficult. And so if we can establish those things, those skills and competencies that make our advanced teachers the great teachers that they are, we can structure that down the ladder. And so we can communicate to teachers, these are the skills at your early career that you need to develop and you need to perfect as you move along that ladder. Student outcomes. So one of the most important things that we know today is that a teacher in the classroom has an enormous impact on student learning. And so if we look across the state to say, do all schools and all districts have equivalent or equitable access to highly effective teachers in the state? The answer to that question is no. So this chart, and I tried very hard. Those of you who have seen me present, it's always tables and inferential statistics and things like that, and I tried very hard to avoid that today. So this is just a visual for you. As you're red, your presence in your district of a highly effective teacher is lower than the average. Those deep reds, those districts have between 5 and 10% of their faculty designated as highly effective. And when I say that, I'm using a specific metric, and that is EVOS, Student Growth Model for our state. And right now, this is the only measure that we have that differentiates teachers well. I'm not saying that it's the gold standard. I'm not saying it's the only thing we should be using. What I'm saying is it's an important tool in understanding the differences in teacher impact on student learning. So as you look there, those reds and blues start to tell a story of Some districts have above the average percentage of their teachers designated as highly effective. And just to let you know, 16% is the average across the state. A district average, 16% of their educators are deemed highly effective on the EVOS model. So how do we get better distribution so all of our kids have equitable access to these highly effective educators? And ATR is one of the ways we can do that. By creating these positions in these advanced teacher positions in our districts, we can, those that are deeper blue, those teachers can start moving to those districts that are a little more red. And they have the compensation to support that move and make that a more equitable situation across the state. So I think this diagram, or this chart, raises a very important question. Does it matter what a teacher's EVOS score is? Does it matter if a teacher is highly effective? And the simple answer to that question is yes. We have done research in the state on what happens to students when they are exposed differentially to a highly effective teacher and a not highly effective teacher in terms of the EVOS. This chart doesn't look like it's supposed to. But that's okay, because I know what it says. So if we look at students in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade in math, and this is true for reading as well, students that are at the middle of the distribution of performance. So these are kids who are right in the middle, 50 percentile on their EOGs. And we looked at kids that were differentially assigned the next 2 years to a teacher who in the prior year was blue. And for those who don't know what blue means, it means that they exceeded growth on the EVOS measure. So the prior year they were blue, student got assigned to them, and they got assigned the following year, just 2 years. And then there's a group of students at that same percentile. Click and it should fix. Yeah. Sweet. All right, great. So these students were assigned to teachers that exceeded growth for 2 years, and another group at the 50th percentile, there was no achievement gap between these kids. They got assigned to teachers who did not meet expected growth in the prior year. And look what happens to their achievement over just 2 years. The students who were assigned highly effective teachers are now operating at about the 68th percentile on the EOG. The students who were differentially assigned to low value-added teachers are now at around the 43rd percentile. So where there existed no discrepancy in their performance, the simple assignment of student to teacher has caused a greater than 20 percentage point gap between these groups of students. ATR can help with this. Even when a student is assigned to a teacher that's not as effective, they can be working in the presence of an expert teacher who knows how to move these students. And for that, these teachers should be lauded, appreciated, and compensated. So what is now I'm stepping out on some faith here. What is the desired outcome? What should this look like when we're done with this? What should the teaching profession look like if we've achieved this? And it's not there. If any of you have never seen this, YouTube, Key and Peele, it's a comedy show, teacher draft. If our teachers operated under the draft that we see in football, basketball, and other sports, what a world we would have and what opportunities we would have for our students. Thank you. I appreciate your attention, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the Innovation Lab.